This wireless mic system supports up to 4 microphones at once. It works with phones, cameras, laptops, and audio mixers. It has internal recording, 32-bit float audio, and get this, it offers wireless audio monitoring, which I've never had before. There's so much more to this system, but let's start with a quick comparison. Here's a sample of 4K footage shot on the Sony a7S III. This is the camera that I use for the vast majority of my content. And right now I'm using the camera's internal microphone. And now I went ahead and connected the Lark Max 2. And what I want you to do is ask yourself if this made a significant difference. All right, so this is the Hollyland Lark Max 2. It's a complete system that's a great option for vloggers, YouTubers, and professionals who want to easily record better audio for all sorts of videos. The Lark Max 2 can work with cameras, cell phones, action cameras, cinema cameras, and it may be the most capable system that I've tested so far. In the package that I got, there are 2 transmitters with built-in microphones, and they can also use the included lavalier microphones. You get a single receiver that can be used with USB-C for phones or action cameras, and a camera receiver that can be used with a mirrorless DSLR or cinema camera. Once I got the system, there's no pairing needed, and the first time I opened the case, everything was ready to go and immediately worked. One super important feature if you're using a phone is that the receiver has a USB-C port, so you can actually charge your phone while the receiver is plugged into it, and this way you have endless continuous power. And finally, we have these wireless earphones that can be used to monitor audio. They take the system to a whole new level, and I'll cover them in more detail after the sound tests. So let's start with a couple of phone samples, and just for full transparency, no processing has been done to any of the audio samples. So starting out, we're going to use the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and this is what it sounds like when I'm using the iPhone's internal microphone. And this is what it sounds like when I'm using the iPhone 16 Pro Max with the Lark Max 2. All I did was plug in the USB-C receiver and everything worked. Next, we're going to test out the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. And again, we're going to go ahead and start with the phone's internal microphone. And now again, we're using the Lark Max 2, and you should hear a pretty noticeable difference in the audio quality and the amount of background noise that we have. And this is with noise cancellation turned off. And next, we're going to try the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. And just like with all the other phones, I'm about 4 to 5 feet away from the phone itself. And now I'm using the Lark Max 2. And I also love that after I record the video, I can listen to it without having to unplug the receiver. Now, people always ask me if a dedicated microphone is important if the phone is a lot closer to you, like if you're vlogging holding the phone. So this is me using the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. And now I went ahead and plugged in the receiver of the Lark Max 2. So you can see that even when I'm this close to the camera, a dedicated microphone is always going to make a difference. Now, some people think that if they spend a lot of money on a camera, it comes with a good enough internal microphone, but that's just simply not true. So let's listen to a sample and also test the AI noise cancellation, which doesn't just reduce background noise, it actually understands sound. So Hollyland used a massive data set and a neural network to mimic human hearing, which helps the Lark Max 2 to intelligently separate speech from background noise and deliver better results. All right, so here I am using the Sony a7S III. It costs about $3,500, and that doesn't take into account the lenses or any of the other accessories that I needed to get this image. All right, and now I switch to the Lark Max 2. Now I could use the TRS to TRS cable, which works with any camera, but because this is a Sony camera with a digital multi-interface shoe, I'm using the optional adapter from Hollyland, and we'll talk more about this in just a moment. And now I went ahead and turned on noise cancellation. I can do it from the transmitter with a single click, or I could do it from the receiver itself, and hopefully you can hear a difference. And this is super important when you're recording in situations where you don't have control over the ambient sounds. So now we can get great audio, but one of the issues that I've had with similar systems is that I don't know if the audio is good until I review the clip. And that's why being able to monitor audio is so important. If you're using the camera receiver and you want to plug in wired headphones so that you can completely block out other noise, there's a built-in 3.5mm headphone jack. But one of my favorite features is that the Lark Max 2 comes with 2 OWS earphones for wireless audio monitoring. That means that you're no longer tied to the camera, and you can move up to 100 meters or 328 feet with low latency audio monitoring. It also means that when I'm shooting alone, I can test the audio from where I'm sitting and then make any adjustments. Now, before we get to the distance test, which everybody loves, the setup that I'm using comes with a charging case, and the whole setup, including the case, charges to full capacity capacity with a single cable. When it comes to changing the settings, if you're using the USB-C receiver, you can use the Lark Sound app to control everything, and it's just super easy and convenient. If you're using the camera receiver, you can use the touchscreen on it, but what's super cool here is that you can still connect to the Lark Sound app and then control everything via the app, which is something that I haven't had with any other system and I've always wanted. We're also getting 32-bit float audio with amazing dynamic range, and for the everyday user, that means that you can record very quiet and very loud sounds without distortion. And it also means that you can still get good audio even if you didn't set your gain levels perfectly. The Lark Max 2 can capture this 32-bit float audio to your camera or phone, but it can even do that directly to the transmitter. And that brings me to another great feature, internal recording. So Hollyland added 8 GB of built-in storage in each of the transmitters, and that means that you can always have up to 14 hours of recorded backup in case of an emergency. Now, I've never had to rely on it, but I use it every time because I always prefer to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Another feature that I always get asked about when I review these types of systems is there the ability to connect more transmitters when recording larger groups? And the Lark Max 2 can actually support up to 4 transmitters at once, which is awesome, and it just adds to the versatility of the system. If you're a professional and need timecode, the Lark Max 2 has a built-in frame-level timecode system, so you can easily synchronize camera footage with internal audio recordings. Now, if you run into situations where you have to deal with wind, you also get 2 small dead cats or windscreens, which are going to be a lifesaver for removing wind noise. Now let's do a quick distance test, and Hollyland says that the range on this system is 340 meters or 1,115 feet. All right, so now let's go ahead and start the distance test. Now, a lot of these microphones, as soon as I turn away from the camera, they lose reception with the receiver. So a lot of the smaller transmitters aren't able to perform super well when I'm not. I mean, that was easily 100 yards away from the camera, and that's way farther than I would ever use this type of microphone for my type of content. Now, a lot of people ask me questions about whether I'm leaving my camera there all alone. I'm not. I have a friend that helps me shoot. He's standing right behind the camera. He's protecting all the gear. Now, even though I said this isn't a feature that I would use like this, I still love having this type of signal, like this strong a signal, because it means that I can use this system in a variety of situations. Like obviously if someone's on stage, or if I do want to be a little bit farther away from the camera, that's helpful. But also if I'm just walking around the studio or walking around the kitchen or around the house while I'm shooting a video, I know that I'm always going to get good audio. I don't have to mess with the gain if I'm a little bit farther away or closer to the camera. And just like you can see here, the audio when I'm here and the audio when I'm right next to the camera is going to sound exactly the same because the distance between me and the microphone doesn't change. So this is super nice, it's super handy, very convenient. And again, even though I'll never walk that far away from my camera, I think that it's an excellent feature. Now, looking at some other features, with the charging case that we talked about, this setup is rated for 36 hours of working time, which is a ton. I can connect the Lark Max 2 to something like the Osmo Pocket 3, and this way I'm getting 32-bit float audio from up to 4 sources, and I can connect it directly to the Osmo Pocket 3 or to the optional battery pack. Using the app, you can see the levels from each microphone. You can enable or disable the phone speaker. You can lock the microphone so you don't accidentally change a setting. You can control noise cancellation level, and instead of a couple of presets, you have a dB slider, and this is another situation where having easy access to audio monitoring is super handy. You can manually set the gain for each microphone or select dynamic gain settings of high, medium, or low. The system has 3 recording modes: mono, where everything goes to the left and right channels, and this is great when you're recording one person. There's also a safety mode where channel 2 is recorded at -6 dB, which means that you have more protection from the audio being too loud and clipping. And then there is a stereo mode where mic 1 goes to the left channel and mic 2 goes to the right channel. This is perfect for a 2-person setup because you can edit each person separately in post-production in case one person is too soft or too loud. You can select a recording depth for both internal recording and USB output. There's a super handy mic identification feature which changes the color of the LED on each microphone so you can easily know which one is which. And finally, you'll see a wireless monitoring option, and when you enable it, you can see the monitoring status and monitoring volume. And by the way, when you're using the earphones, you can double tap them to toggle the monitoring status between playing and paused. Now, one other bonus is that this package comes with wired lapel microphones in case you don't want to have the transmitter visible. They also come with windscreens, and here's a quick comparison. All right, here's a quick test just using the regular mic clipped onto my shirt. And now I'm using the wired lavalier microphone. It's clipped onto my shirt and I have the wire going down and the actual transmitter is in my pocket. So this should give you a pretty good idea of the difference in audio. Now, for those of you who have a Sony camera, the adapter is sold separately and it's great because you don't need to use a cable. So who is the system for? There are multiple packages ranging from a single transmitter and a USB-C receiver all the way to the complete system with wireless monitoring. Of course, you can get additional transmitters if you want to go up to 4, and I've got links to everything in the description. The Lark Max 2 would be a great option for creators and professionals who want a powerful, complete and versatile plug-and-play system that gets outstanding audio. Hopefully this video was helpful. You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.